Is Zambia rejecting a US health funding deal that requires it to give preferential access to its minerals to US companies? I break it down for you in this video. My name is Jefferson Kapasa. On the 29th of April, we saw a report from Al Jazeera that reported that Zambia had up until the 30th of April to make a decision whether to accept a deal that requires it to give preferential access to its minerals to US companies. Watch this video.
Zambia has until April 30 to make a tough decision. Sign a mineral rights deal with the United States or lose most of the funding for the HIV treatment of 1.3 million people. Zambia is one of the world's largest copper producers. It also has significant reserves of lithium and some cobalt. The US wants preferential access to these very minerals and their sources, used for things such as solar panels and electric vehicles. But Zambia is also a country with one of the highest rates of HIV/AIDS in the world. Nearly 10% of the adult population is affected. For over 2 decades, Zambia has relied on a US program called PEPFAR to fund about 80% of its HIV response. So how are Zambia's minerals and HIV programs related? A US State Department Memorandum of Understanding shows the two sides are negotiating a 5-year health deal to replace one that expires on April 30. The proposed agreement states that all healthcare funding will be immediately discontinued if no deal is reached, and that deal is supposed to include preferential access to Zambia's minerals, meaning American companies get priority rights over companies from other countries. But that's not all. Washington is also demanding 10 years of access to Zambia's health data, but only offering 5 years of funding. HIV and other health data is valuable for pharmaceutical companies developing new drugs. Whatever medications, vaccines, or profit come out of it, Zambia would get no guaranteed share of the profit. In Kenya, activists took their government to court over a similar data clause. And finally, the US is only offering $320 million in aid for all health programs in Zambia in 2026, compared with $367 million it provided last year for HIV programs alone.
Following this report, the outgoing United States ambassador to Zambia made some remarks that seemingly refuted the position reported by Al Jazeera.
Now, I know that there have been alarmist allegations recently, but let me be clear. Any suggestion that the United States would withhold critical life-saving healthcare support from those Zambians whose lives, whose health depend on it, unless we get critical minerals, is disgusting. It is absolutely and patently false.
The ambassador's remarks in his outgoing speech really unsettled a lot of diplomatic dust. We saw the Zambian government responding through the Minister of Foreign Affairs, State Counsel Mlambo Ahimbe, and this is what he said.
Further, it must be noted that in terms of the proposed health MOU, by which the US graciously and generously offered support of up to $2 billion United States of America dollars to Zambia over the next 5 years, the US and Zambia are yet to agree on certain of the terms proposed in the draft MOU. Whilst negotiations have been ongoing for a period of time, this cannot be referred to as ignoring the offer by the US or indeed as being non-responsiveness on the part of government. We must emphasize that the government of the Republic of Zambia owes a duty to the people to protect their interests at all times, in the same way that the US government must protect US citizens' interests, and therefore the ongoing negotiations reflect that reality. For clarity, the Zambian government wishes to state unequivocally that the stalled negotiations on the health MOU are as a consequence of the incorporation of terms that the Zambian government considers unacceptable, such as those relating to sharing of data in violation of our citizens' right of privacy. These matters are the subject of litigation in Zambian courts, and this must be respected. Aside from that, these provisions are considered unconscionable from the perspective of the people of Zambia. And therefore, government reiterates that it has a duty to protect those interests, hence the negotiations reaching a temporary impasse. Similarly, the proposed critical minerals agreement and associated framework must reflect the will and aspirations of the people of Zambia, and as such need to be carefully and diligently considered. I'll repeat that. Similarly, the proposed critical minerals agreement and associated framework must reflect the will and aspirations of the people of Zambia, and as such need to be diligently and carefully considered, contrary to the outgoing ambassador's allegations of inertia on the part of the government of the Republic of Zambia.
Clearly, from what the minister is saying, you can tell that there is a deal, an offer somewhere whose terms the Zambian government is not comfortable with. But what is more interesting, before all this happened, we saw a story that was reported by a local media here in Zambia, and I'll read it in part for you. Hichilema hails $430 million US mining investment as he launches Mingomba Shaft project. President Hakainde Hichilema has commissioned the ambitious shaft sinking project at Mingomba mine in Chilawombwe. The towering 1.6 kilometers shaft forms part of a high-grade copper and cobalt project being developed by Cobalt Metals in partnership with ZCCM-IH, which holds a 20% stake. The remaining 80% is owned by Cobalt Metals, with the project marking the single largest American capital injection into Zambia's mining sector, with an eye-watering $430 million US since its work began in 2022. So this is a US investment in the mining sector. Assuming there's a deal somewhere that has been offered to the Zambian government, do you think the US is in a right diplomatic position to attach conditions to help that it's rendering to the Republic of Zambia, particularly funding the health sector and the treatment of HIV and AIDS? And do you think the Zambian government should accept these particular conditions to save the millions of Zambians that could be dependent on the HIV treatment that is provided by the United States government? Let me know in the comments.